Hey everybody, welcome to another Tale of Four Tish Gamers. This is our weekly show where we talk about whatever sort of hobby thing we have going on. Right now, it is, of course, the new 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000. I'm joined by Nick and Jay today. Chris is off for Father's Day, and we are doing the Father's Day tradition of hiding in the basement. Or in our offices.
And there's another half of the Father's Day.
Yeah, so we have to cover the labels though. But yes, we're done. This is a late night Father's Day thing happening.
Does anybody have a paper bag? Where's my paper bag?
That's right. Canadian branding, of course, for all of these things. But yes, we are deep in it. We are 2 weeks in, and finally we can talk about everything for the most part, really. We can talk about points, we can talk about armies, we can talk about the games we've played, the games that are coming up, and our progress and what we're working on this week. So to catch up kind of for Chris, we'll go through and talk about whatever we did this week. Chris and I actually played a game, so I'm going to speak on his behalf a little bit. You guys watched the second one. The first one you're actually going to see on Monday, so I won't spoil that yet because we can't talk about that yet. But the first one you watched this Friday is the second game we played, which was actually getting to try out the points and the armies from the Leviathan box set. That's not the first 10th edition game I played, though. The honor of that would go to playing against Nick. You and I played that Custodes versus
the
Tau game. That's right. We got to try that out.
Yeah, we were trying to do combat patrol, but we didn't have everything together at that time, so we had to just play 1,000 points. And I happened to have some stuff, so my list was very, very, very cobbled together, and I wasn't ready for like all this extra stuff.
It was my crew. My crew became heroes, though. They were absolute heroes. My crew from Boarding Actions joined your Tau army, and you were like, "I got to paint some crew. Great, holy shit, crew do really good." I think they might have been like one of the most robust units. I think they survived the whole game. They got a lot of work done.
The crew were really good. The suits failed me.
They did a lot of damage. The problem was that afterwards they were there. They were near the Custodes, and the Custodes did not take kindly to them being alive. Which was
the Tau played really cool. I think they fit well into the what we were playing. Custodes apparently are really, really, really good. So
yeah, they feel really good. They feel like they are very powerful.
It was unbeatable, but it was good.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, for literally our first game of 10th edition, where we're like, let's just play with two armies we play with a lot and play a small game. It didn't. It was exactly what we thought it was going to be. It was us trying stuff out. The Leviathan game, I think, really illustrated how the number of models doesn't necessarily dictate the quality of the army, because you struggle to make 800 points out of the tier and a half of the starter set. You really do need some extra units, and we're all kind of planning out our add-on units right now to the combat patrols. I'm going to add some units because the Space Marine side is over 1,000 points, so I'm going to add some units kind of like just because I should be adding units if everybody else is adding units. But you get over 1,000 points with the Space Marines in that box.
I didn't find out until they put the points out that the combat patrol I started with is only 600 points.
That's more points though, I think, than most of them. Because
is it?
Oh yeah.
What are you complaining about?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the Space Marine combat patrol, because it's like 2 characters and 2 squads, is only like 460 points.
Weird. Okay.
Like just around 500 points.
So many models for my 1,000 points still.
Yeah, your sister's one is what? It's you got to finish the Seraphim. You finished the Seraphim already because you have another squad painted, don't you?
No, I have to do the Seraphim still.
Okay.
But I have the Repentia done. I just have to do the Rhino, the Seraphim, and the Arcoflagellants.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not so bad. That's not. A Rhino is easy. I love Rhinos. Rhinos are so easy. Just paint a box.
Especially because it's going to be black.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly. Yeah, it's not going to be very some red highlights, some red panels on that black Rhino.
Yeah, exactly. Just pick out a couple panels in red and gold, and that's kind of a day.
Yeah, for sure.
It should have a red door just so you can pick off a lot of puns.
That's right. You can go through the red door. How many points is the sisters one to start off with?
It's 500 on the dot.
It's 500 on the dot. Oh wow! So they're all roughly around 500. So the one being the cult one being 600 points is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, wait, what?
Because our goal obviously is to get to about 1,000 points painting these combat patrols, and it's interesting to see what in like normal 40k, because we haven't seen the combat patrol rules yet. So the normal 40k rules is kind of what we're balancing these boxes off of to what we're trying to get to eventually, which is that 1,000 points. And so the differential between them is really interesting, because the Space Marine one is like a 210 point Terminator squad, 90 points of Flamer Marines, the Infernus Marines, so like 300 points there, and then a 90 point captain and a 90 point librarian and 95 point captain. So it's 485 points for those like 4 units basically. So yeah, you've got like a whole Goliath rock tank basically, Jay, on top of the Space Marines.
It's interesting though. Like I was talking to Jay at Lord of War about this, and I didn't realize until I went through the actual combat patrol list. Like I mentioned, I think I mentioned you last week, but I made the mistake of building my guys before I had the combat patrol list.
Yeah, so because the rule book has all of like the what everyone's armed with and stuff in there.
And I just totally missed that. So I built some of the wrong combos of stuff. So, whatever, no problem. I'll go back and fix that. But when I went back to fix it, and I actually looked at the combat patrol rules, the army entries, I was like, I don't have a weapon over strength 6.
Yeah.
like are other people going to have tanks and trucks and robots? Because I don't want to fight their tanks and trucks and robots.
Right. You and I are going to have such a fun wet noodle fight. It's going to be
great. And it was the Rhino's the king of the battlefield, just like driving around.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the stuff I've built, and I'm like, oh man, if somebody has a Rhino, I'm just screwed. I can't stop a super powerful vehicle like that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm looking at the pile of sprues sitting next to me with all the weapons on it that could shoot through one of those things instantly that I'm not using.
You're not using, yeah. Why did they bring this mining laser? This mining laser seems
mining
really
laser
good.
looks cool. Oh, that's not for me.
That's not for you.
That's not for me.
That's something for later.
We don't use that
next
here.
squad gets the mining laser. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny because the points don't care, right? The point of don't care if you have a heavy
that's what I mean. Like
it's all the same. It's all
the fact that because it doesn't impact the points. I'm like, why do I have this strength 6 weapon instead of the strength 9 weapon that I could have in its slot? Like, okay.
I think the mining laser is only like 6-inch range though, isn't it? Because it's meant to like hold again. Like it's literally like a big like lightsaber knife.
It's the thing
meant to like cut through walls. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the Dead Space like mining gun, basically, like plasma cutter.
I'm looking at the wrong thing. I need to look at the
your indexes. Yeah.
So the mining laser goes 24 inches.
Ooh, not bad.
And the seismic cannon goes also 24 inches. So the key difference between the two, other than the crappier strength, crappier armor penetration, and lower damage, is that the seismic cannon gets more shots.
Okay. It's like blast and stuff too, isn't it? Because it's for hitting big units, I think.
Nope.
No, I'm just stupid then. I don't know.
Nope.
I haven't looked at your next yet.
No. It doesn't do anything.
Well, we both so like Chris and I got to the finish line this week. So to round up like what happened this week. We got to the finish line on our starter sets. He finished off all the tiers. They looked amazing. I'll put some pictures of them up over the words I'm saying right now so you guys can see them. He did them from, I believe, like a black primer with then like a zenithal base coat of probably like a gray, like a standard sort of like dove gray. And then lots of contrast paint. So I think it's Black Templar or is it Black Templar? It's Black Legion. What's it called now? What's the new contrast called? Black Legion. Okay, Black Legion over top, and then just like some highlights.
I saw them. I saw them in a store. They look wicked.
They look wicked. They look really cool. And we both like burned the midnight and got them done, so we could play the game with the starter set, and it went well. It went fine. His Carnifex was an unstoppable killing machine until Mr. Skinny Legs like got him in his sights, and Mr. Skinny Legs I think single-handedly accounted for all of his monsters.
Chicken need not cross the road to get to the other side.
That disappoints me so much. Carnifex is so cool, and Mr. Skinny Legs is so not cool.
he's so all upper body. He's just all upper body all day. I'm gonna paint him 2 brothers. That's my add-on. So my add-on commitment is I want to paint the other 2 dreads so that I can basically just make him look even goofier.
And
continue to neg him. I just want to neg him so that he continues to like do well for me and know that he is the least loved miniature in my Ultramarines army right now.
That dude has Trug or the Burninator's physique. That's awful.
He's just going to keep rolling 6s now just to spite you and be like, I'll show you.
When I rolled the boxcars on the reroll,
he will single-handedly wipe out my army.
Yeah, when he walked into like flamer range with the psychophage and I overwatched it and I missed with both my shots and I rolled boxcars on the reroll. He was so mad at me with the laser and just like shot him in the eyes. just did a warning shot and was just like, no, he's gonna keep coming. I'm just gonna blow his head off, and just blew his head off. It was a lot.
The funny thing is, I have no problem picturing the look on Chris's face right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Crystal clear image in my mind.
It's still on his face today. It went all the way to Father's Day. We played the game on Friday, and he's still making that face. Or on Thursday, he's still making that face now.
Why'd you say stuff like that? You don't worry about that, son.
That's right. I'm pretty sure. What was it, Chris said he was adding? He's adding Tyrant Guard. Because Tyrant Guard are a big like boost to the Neurothrope, so he doesn't have to take the Neurogaunts if he doesn't want to. They can just be chaff. And I think what was the other unit he took? I think maybe Venom Thropes. The ones
Zoanthropes. I
think it was Zoanthropes. Sorry, Nick?
No, yeah, you're right. I think I remember what he got. You're right though. It's Zoanthropes.
Yeah, Zoanthropes. He's got some Mortal Wound, Brain Blasty, psychic stuff too. Because I think they'll look really cool actually. He has Tyrant Guard around the Neurotyrant, and then he adds Zoanthropes to like just have all the brains. So it's all just like big brain psycho murder. And that's gonna take him to 1,000 points because it should, I think between the two of those units, take him to about 1,000 points. Those are both spendy 100-point units. So that's my plan. Paint some dreadnoughts, continue to have all three, the Brutalis, the Redemptor, and the Trogdor class dreadnought. And then Chris is gonna add some more bigger, like mid-sized bugs basically to his army. So what have you guys been working on?
Well, I finished my first squad of Sisters to the Hole, and I got my bases painted and they're stuck on the bases. So the fact that I have some done stuff is really cool. I had like a big poll with the group about how to do my bases because I went through a couple of samples. Oh, I'll send you a picture of those too. Sweet. But I kind of went through like 6 iterations and I just kept refining it and getting like community input. And now they look really cool.
Yeah,
our text thread blew up about bases. Yeah, our text thread, our like group text was like basically like a Canadian Idol of basing for Nick for a minute, where it was like, but what about if I do this base from Calais? But what if I do that base from Calais? What about the purple? What about the green? They turned out looking great. Doesn't that feel good though to have that first chunk of an army done? I have to say, like, I specifically didn't take any of my existing Ultramarines out of their carrying case for the entirety of this painting project, just so that I could get that feeling of having like that first squad finished and like that first character feels, because it starts to feel like an army all of a sudden. Like it's like coming together, like it's like an actual like finished project.
Everything else is hiding in the corner. You're totally right. Yeah. It's like, don't look at me.
That's right. It'll look great. I'm super excited to see it on the table because I think you got the perfect balance of like a like base that allows the models like sort of like rich tone to like pop off of it, so they have like a nice striking like differential between what they're standing on and how they look overall. It's why adding like, for instance, that bit of brown to my gray bases makes that blue better because it warms the bases up a little bit, so the dark deep blue on the Space Marines kind of like contrasts against the warmer like brown on the base.
You got a great comment on your base, actually. That one guy was like, I didn't get the brown until I saw it. Then I was like, oh, the brown.
Oh, the brown. That's right. Yeah. He was like, I wasn't buying it when you were painting them. And then I saw them on the table and I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I see why this looks good. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you got to see them all together. Yeah. Sometimes you got to see them all together. You got to see the finished product. I actually really like Chris's bases too. I think it's such a simple way. When he gets like that, he gets like a basing gel, like a colored basing gel, and then he just adds that bit of weathering pigment to them and goes up the legs with it. It's such an easy way to base miniatures, and I think it looks really strong. Yeah. And it's just a little bit of tufts. Yeah, a little bit of Mars tufts, especially on those cold like green and purple and black like Tyranids. Like having that warm, rich like Mars red base, they really stick off the ground. What about you, Jay?
Cool. Well, I'm way behind everybody else. I made 2 mistakes that I'll come back to in a sec. But I've got tonight Magus Veridiel and the Aberrants will be done. They both have a little bit left to do on them. So those figures will be my first 2 units. I actually broke with my usual tradition. I almost always paint like my big thick horde first. And I decided not to do that because I was just really stoked about the Aberrant models. I think they look super cool.
Doesn't one of them have like literally like a stop sign on a stick as a weapon?
He's got a stop sign on a stick with a chunk of concrete ripped out of the ground. He looks great.
Yeah,
He looks
they have some of the
that was
coolest
amazing.
weapons. Like that's just cool. That's a cool weapon to get hit by.
So they look good. I like them. So those will be done tonight. And then the two mistakes I made were, as I mentioned earlier, I built my 2 hybrid squads without actually seeing the combat patrol list. So I put some things in there that didn't belong in there.
Right.
Which means I'm replacing 3 of those models before I start painting them, which is not a big deal. I actually, even though I made that mistake, I actually just pulled the extra model bits from the truck kit. There's like dudes to ride around on the back of the truck. So I just repurposed a couple of them, took weapons and kit off of the hybrid sprues to begin with.
Right.
And no big deal. So that was setback number 1. Setback number 2, which I raged about incessantly to the point where had I spent my time fixing the problem rather than raging about it, I probably wouldn't have wasted my time. My second setback was building the friggin' rock grinder truck. Oh my God, why is that thing 80 pieces?
It's a lot of pieces.
It's a pickup truck.
No. It feels like some of those could have been solid
more
chunks.
than 80 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
It feels like some of them could have been larger individual pieces, but they need to fit in the frame.
So the plan for so like I said, it'll be finished those 6 tonight. And then the plan for tomorrow is all of the hybrids are getting painted tomorrow, the 20 of them.
Sweet.
And that'll leave me with the truck and the. I'm not looking at the list because I can't remember the names of things. You're looking at the list because you can't remember the names of things.
Right.
The truck and the hybrids to paint before Thursday.
Do you get a Broodlord in that box, or is it just not? Is it a Magus? It's a Magus.
It's just a Magus.
It's just a Magus. That's right. Because you and I did Stealth and
Shadow Throne.
Shadow Throne. We did Shadow Throne. So you already have that stuff painted. That's right.
Yeah. So I do have, like, if we wanted to jump to 1,000 points, I think if I use my older stuff, I'd pretty much be there. But I actually want to paint some other stuff because the main thing I really liked about the Gene Stealer cult was the vehicles.
Yeah. They're so cool.
So I want to paint a couple of the Ridge Runners. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, who knows? Maybe at some point I'd use them for Necromunda because there's the Ridge Runners and then there's the little quads and motorcycles and stuff. So yeah,
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun for us to run once you get that stuff painted. Run the one of the like map campaign things for Kill Team too, but do a Gene Stealer cult instead of the Chaos cult. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Yeah, doing like an insurrection thing. I like that in our group text as well. The canon now for your Gene Stealer cult is that it's the Duke of New York, and he's gonna have a chandelier limo at some point. And then
of course,
your Broodlord's name is Isaac Hayes because he's the Duke.
So the thing I'm stoked about is I had actually already ordered chandeliers because I was originally going to put them on my truck.
I thought you were joking.
No. I ordered those.
Nick.
I ordered those because I was going to put them on my truck for a Gorka Market campaign, and the shipping time was just too long. They didn't make it.
Nick, the best thing you need to learn right now about Jay is he will go to any lengths for a bit. There is no bit that he will not go to the mat for. So when we start a bit like that, in the group text, you might think we're joking, but it is 100% serious. He will show up with chandeliers on his truck. Like, absolutely. Absolutely, he will.
Approved.
It's going to be incredible. I can't wait.
It will be.
I can't wait. Yeah, the Duke's after you, so you're running. There's nothing else you can do. The Duke's after you, so you just got to start running. No matter
better be able to sink that half court shot. Oh no, sorry, that was somebody else.
That's a different. Wasn't that when
that was Escape from LA?
With the Surgeon General's Bruce Campbell.
Yep.
Oh my god.
That's when he's trying to escape from not Che Guevara. I can't remember.
That's right. And he spends the whole movie saying, "Call me Snake," and at the end of it, he says, "Call me Pliskin." It's such a stupid bit. Oh man, Escape from LA is like it's basically the Ghosts of Mars of the Escape trilogy or duology, I guess.
Oh, please let it be a trilogy.
There's still time for it to be a trilogy. Honestly, we know there's still time. We know Kurt Russell would do it.
I need more Map of the Stars, Eddie. I need more Map of the Stars.
I want to know what old Snake Plissken's been up to. I want to know what his life has been since he dueled with the Surgeon General of Los Angeles, Bruce Campbell. With his 10 buckets of like plastic surgery. So that's sweet. So what did you add anything? I forgot to keep forgetting to ask because we're gonna play tomorrow and we're gonna play with your Blood Angels, which I think is gonna be fun against my Necrons because I gussied up my Necron army for 10th edition already.
We're gonna play the day after tomorrow because
tomorrow. So tomorrow's not. That's right. Sorry, it's Monday when this is going live, so it's tomorrow when people hear this. So I'm thinking it's Monday. It's actually Sunday because I've already said it's Father's Day. So I'm just all over the place right now. I've been drinking, people. This is where we're at right now. This is GMG After Dark. If you're watching this, you know what you're getting into. So I don't feel bad. We're all 40 here. Thanks. So yeah, did you add anything to them? Because I thought you were. Oh no, because I have that Dante I'm going to give you, and there was something else you needed. For your
for the Blood Angels, I'm basically I'm pulling out the stuff that I had from. Now it's my turn not to remember what a campaign set was called. Was it Death Storm, Bone Storm, Bone Death,
Ball Storm, Storm of Ball?
Shield of Ball, Shield of Ball. So I painted up some stuff for that.
We're really sticking the landing on these, Jay.
Yeah, right.
I like how Nick's just getting a live show of the two of us just degenerating on a Sunday
riffing.
Night.
It's just jazz.
It's just riffing. It's just jazz, baby. That's right. Yeah.
So I did this stuff for that, which was like a Death Company squad, a Terminator squad, that awesome Terminator captain with a Thunder Hammer.
Oh, I love that miniature.
And the Death Company dreadnought. And then immediately preceding that, I think, was when Stan was trying to get me back into 40K. So I just painted up like a bunch of odds and ends, like some Pack Marines, and more Terminators, Assault Squad, a couple other characters. So yeah, I have kind of like a mishmash of.
My favorite was when you sent me the stuff. You sent me the model list, and you're like, "Is this enough?" And I was like, "This is like 2,500 points of Blood Angels. You have so many Blood Angels." Space Marine armies escalate so fast, and it feels like they're really. Like you get a lot of space, like a lot of points for your Space Marines in this edition so far. Did you notice that, Nick? Did you point out your Adeptus Primaris or your Optimus Primaris Marines yet? Because you must have a lot of points.
I haven't yet, no, because I've also added a lot of stuff to my army since I've looked at my last collection. I had just 2,000 points last time. I think I'm up to like probably 3,500 now with the Leviathan stuff. I
was gonna say the Leviathan is another 1,000 points right there, right? So that's a lot of stuff. Because it's funny because I love that army because it's basically the last two starter sets like blended together.
Yep. So that army's very, very fair and balanced because it's just so sweet. Everything random.
Cool. The thing I'm most pissed about is I don't have a Dark Imperium. I never got one. So I never got a Dark Imperium. I didn't ever have one. So like we got the rule books for 8th edition. I think I got my hands on the Marine side of it. I can't remember what happened to the Nurgle stuff though. Maybe I gave it to Owen, or maybe Owen had it from some other or he traded it for something, because Owen did orcs immediately, and I painted up like
Owen, he's not here.
I can blame Owen. Yeah, I think the only thing I have for Dark Imperium is the captain, the like Gravis captain with like the power sword and the power fist. I don't think I have anything else for it because I would love to have all three starter sets basically in that army. So I don't have Hellblasters. I don't have the Ancient. I don't have what was the came in that squad? It was basically 2 5-man intercessor squads, a Hellblaster squad that was 5-man, the captain, a lieutenant, I want to say, or was it 2 lieutenants? I think it came with 2 lieutenants actually, because I think one of those lieutenants became a kill team guy in my army. Like they're just all over the place. Like I don't have it in my Ultramarines army. I wish I had a copy of Dark Imperium because I'd like those Nurgle guys too, because Nurgle guys are badass.
Was that the thing that had like came with the Nurgle, like the drones?
Crawler. Yeah, came with a little crawler. Came with like a bajillion plague zombies. Came with the what was they called? The Gellerpox? No, not Gellerpox. Shoot, what are they called? Poxwalkers. It was like 7 plague marines, a really cool captain with a power axe, and then like 20 Poxwalkers and a plague crawler. I'm pretty sure. It was such a cool starter set. I mean, 8th edition
it was a really good box actually. Looking back on it, it was like, wow, that box was awesome. What were we doing?
8th edition came in like a wrecking ball. Like it had so much character.
You know what else it had, Ash?
I did. I threw that in there. Yeah, I did. But it had so much character. Like it was just cool. It looked cool. They brought a new Primarch in because they brought in like Mortarion and stuff like that. I'm hoping that they're doing that kind of with the Tyranids with Death Leaper. What do we think about Death Leaper? Actually, that's a good question. Now we talk about what we're doing. We're talking about what's new this week.
Close pens.
Let's talk about Mimic.
Pens.
What do you guys think about Mimic?
I love it.
Yeah?
Like no hold back, no reservations. Like as soon as I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like I like the pose. Like it. I like the fact they didn't go over the top with the pose being like mid-action shot. Like it looks like it's ready to go. I loved the skin cape.
The skin cape was crazy.
I love the skin cape.
I love that miniature. Like, you know, like I'm stoked about doing the Game Stealer cults, but when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I could
You can
do
take
Terrence.
allies. You can
I
definitely
could
take
do that.
allies. You can definitely take allies. He'd be the one to have too, because he's basically Darkman. Like he'd show up and ally with Eugene.
That might be down the road.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Fighter of the Light Man.
What do you think, Nick?
I really, really like him. I think like he's just got that cool. He's not doing something too over the top, so he's got this like nice, like imposing pose. He's got that more eldritch feel to his face. He's got everything right. He's like, oh yeah, everyone I've been eating swing pants. I'm gonna grow some pants.
He definitely looks like a John Blanche drawing. Does that make sense? Like he looks like a John Blanche drawing of a Tyranid. He doesn't.
He's got more of that kind of gribbly, dirty kind of feel to him, rather than like all the clean edges and stuff.
Yeah, and it's punk. Like it doesn't have to make sense that he has a kilt. You know what I mean? Or like a weird trench coat. Like
get over it.
Yeah, exactly. It's 40K. Get over it. 40K
I think the thing with stuff like that is, does the thing you have that doesn't make sense, is it cool? If it's cool,
perfect.
Who cares that it doesn't make sense?
Exactly. He's got like a Neo trench coat on. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? He's so cool. Like he's like a Death Leaper who's been through a divorce. He's a Death Leaper that smokes.
he's midlife crisis Death Leaper.
That's right. He's a Death Leaper that wakes up and gargles with whiskey.
You kids ever listen to Bauhaus?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. He's a Death Leaper who does nothing but he collects original print Kraftwerk like LPs. That's what he does. He's a Death Leaper that drives like a restored like Impala, like classic Impala. He's just cool. Like you want to know what his story is. He smoked in high school. He's Judd Nelson.
He's Judd Nelson.
He's got cut off finger gloves. That's how cool Death Leaper is.
Oh no!
Now I want him. Now I want one even more than I did 5 minutes ago.
That's right. Yeah. He's a Death Leaper that'll buy underage kids liquor. That's how cool he is.
I think Games Workshop should print that on the front of the box.
We're just doing the log lines now for Death Leaper.
This is free marketing. This is free marketing. That's
right. Yeah, he's Death Leaper. He's Death Leaper with 2 girlfriends and he's juggling at the same time. He's so badass. Yeah, so I'm into him too. I think he's super cool for all the reasons you guys said. I think he's just a Death Leaper that like he's cheeky. Like the sculpting, like the design of him is cheeky, and I think that's a worthy, like, you put that back into 40K. It's what makes 40K. It's not trying to be hard sci-fi. You know what I mean? It's got a little bit of like weird punk rock edge to it. I think that's awesome.
He's the 40K I want 40K to be. He's the Rogue Trader model in 2020.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So it's funny because I said that because here's the other bit of like this week in the news, and I want you to lead this one, Nick, because I think you're probably more keen on this. The points came out last Friday, and immediately every competitive, like-minded 40K person lost their minds, or like maybe like the pundits did. They lost their minds. Can you fill me in on that? Because like I've seen it in like dribs and drabs, and people commenting on my videos being like, "Well, they can't balance a game. They've shown that now." Like stuff like that. Can you tell me what's the thread there? Like what are people talking about?
Well, as we've all seen, the new edition is less lethal, which means you might get less stuff, or the stuff that you want to take, you just get less of. Like, for instance, the battle wagon for orcs was 105 points in the base book. You might have given it a wagon roller, which was like 20 points. Now it's 185 points. You get everything, literally everything, but that's a fair jump. So people in some capacities are like, wow, my points don't reflect what my army does. But then you should still try it out, because maybe it does. Maybe your army has interactions that's not just on paper stats, which a lot of people are just looking at this. How many of you have played 10th already? Probably not many. We've only had a couple games ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and that was our first comment too, is like, holy shit, it's hard to kill tanks. It's hard to kill monsters. You know, unless you take a piece that's like specifically designed to do that, which paints a big target on it too. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if you only have 1 or 2 tank killing things and they have 6 tanks, guess what's dying first?
That's exactly. Yeah, I'm just gonna drive over that thing. Mr. Skinny Legs is gonna have a bad day. He's gonna get dragged around until he's not alive anymore. So
yeah, and everyone's digging through and finding the combos that are really broken. And actually, Games Workshop has been really good at even there's been like a couple day, like first 2 week fixes where Deathwatch had like a bad interaction where they could do like 40 mortal wounds for 1 CP or something stupid.
Oh, crazy! How was that?
I'm glad that wasn't us playing.
Yeah, for real.
It's,
I would never have noticed that. Just so you know, like there's no way.
It was a Hellfire rounds interaction, being able to give devastating wounds or something to their anti-infantry guns, and just something stupid. I didn't look at it because it's already fixed, so it doesn't matter.
Right. It's something where you could like fish for 6s basically and have a million shots, and it would.
Yeah, that's another thing I really don't like about this game. It's like they said less rerolls, and then they did more rerolls. They're like the entire army rerolls for everybody.
Every rerolls all the time.
But
that's interesting.
I think you just did reroll fails because rerolling a success to try to get a 6 feels bad.
I see what you're saying. It's a small sort of like wording thing, but it has a big impact. I see what you're saying. The unintended consequences thing, kind of along the lines of like the reduced damage by 1, but it can go to 0.
Which they did patch, by the way. They did patch that. It is to a minimum of 1.
Is it really? Immediately? Yes, that's funny.
I figured that was going to be the case, but it's kind of fun to talk about.
Yeah, well, I think that's the interesting thing is like there's 2 things. One, if you're going into an edition change expecting everything you used to be able to do is going to be exactly the same, especially when they're doing like from the ground up rewrite of everything, I think you're probably responsible for your own disappointment. Right? Like you're if you expect everything to work exactly how it did or to have the same value in a full rewrite, well, that's just probably not going to happen. Right? They might have generally the same role, but you can't try it out to see how it works if they've changed all the data cards and like changed the core mechanics of the game. That's like being mad that like you're playing checkers and your piece you can't move like a queen, right? Or move like a king. Like
what do you mean? It's kind of my bishop left.
Yeah, exactly. Like, or you can't go backwards. Like I think that's like a modulating your expectations thing. Not, and I'm sure some people disagree with me and be like, but it's too different. I get that too, but you still have to play it in context. I think, like Jay says,
this is the world we live in. So,
well, but even play it in context because, like you just said, like shooting is drastically reduced in like effectiveness. Like there's way less AP. There's way less strength on certain guns. Or if the strength is roughly the same as it was last edition, toughnesses are like through the roof. Like a rhino is like toughness 9. You know what I mean? That's 2 points higher. Like that's a huge difference all of a sudden when like a man portable las cannon is still strength 9.
Yeah, the multi-melta wounds it on a 5. What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the multi-melta has
buddy.
Yeah, I think the multi-melta has anti-vehicle 4+. So it probably doesn't care, but like at the same time, you're talking about like you should have expected this might change. You should probably try it out before you like snap into judgment. The point values seem to really send people over though, because the indexes were mostly out. It seemed like it was mostly the point, like the how much of what I could get seemed to like really send people for a loop. And the character stuff I think is already that we talked about last episode, where it's like, oh, you start with the character and then you see what should I add to him to make him better. Or like, what gets better when I add that? Like, what's the best character with unit thing? That seems to be like what people are fishing for. And the points were like the deal sealer on that. Like, is it too many points? How many of these can I get in my army? Like, can I have Kaldor Drago and this many paladins? The paladins are too expensive. I should just take the Terminators. Like that kind of stuff. Is that what you noticed too, Nick? Or is it something, am I off there?
No, this edition has much shifted. I think it is more about having like a character, and then this buffs your character. It's not necessarily about the units now. And I guess we'll find out as the game changes, like, and what you're doing on the board will reflect that. But what everyone seems to be thinking is like, how can I buff this hero with like, what's the best way I can put this guy in a unit and do something cool with him?
Who does his leadership ability sit with best? If there's like 3 options of units, like which one do I take that's the best like use of his ability?
And so there's so many feel bads of looking through being like, I can't take this guy in this unit. Big sad, but
really,
it is what it is.
Tell me more about that. Tell me more about the like feel bads of like you can't see character.
That's just some of the orc units. This because we're not blessed like the Space Marines where we have every single lieutenant, every single captain for every unit.
That's not really true. The captains and lieutenants can't join every unit. They still just have like 4 or 5 units they can join for the most part.
I suppose, but
it's based on who they are, right? So like a Primaris one can generally join or their armor type. Sorry, like the Gravis ones are in the Gravis units, the regular ones are in the regular units, the Phobos ones are in the Phobos units. So I guess you're right. There is like a captain for every armor type. Yeah, the Terminator ones. I guess you're right, actually. But their abilities are all different. It's not like the Terminator Captain and the regular Space Marine Captain, I think, have the exact same core abilities. I think they have different like leadership buffs or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just looking through and thinking like there's just models that I've never ever seen use for that like, I just don't have because I use it anymore, or I never had like a regular beast boss on foot. I had to make one because he was never good before, and now it's like, well, I'm playing potentially 3 to 4 bosses.
You have to have him, yeah.
And I made one. He's really sick. This little guy I showed you last week.
Sweet,
with the wheel
that's
up.
perfect. That's awesome. I mean, I think that's good though. I like it when an edition makes me want to hobby. It makes me want to like build and paint something different or add something I didn't have before. Like I'm painting like the Technomancer and the Chronomancer for my Necron army, and I never saw a point in having them before. Like it's just making me add and paint things I wouldn't have probably painted before. Do you think anything's going to come back? That was my first thought about the Space Marine Codex. Like, do you think, because Jay's going to play with like a bunch of Firstborn Space Marine stuff, I'm really curious to be like, is this stuff just better now? Like, is it better than
Jay,
Intercessors?
as long as you have Terminators and Land Raiders, you're going to be kicking some butt.
But even just like Tactical Marines, like the Tactical Marine rule is amazing. It's just like, what do you get to do? Oh, I just get to fall back and shoot and charge. Like, I just get to do whatever I want in combat all the time.
Where you get stuck in combat more and more, falling back and shooting and doing charges or whatever is more and more valuable. Look for that ability, and CP generation is so important.
Yeah.
If you have a unit that does it, you probably take it.
Yeah. It's just crazy that like all the Firstborn Space Marine stuff seems to have like a bunch of really cool rules.
Now, here's the thing. Do you think the reason that the Firstborn Space Marine stuff has so many cool rules is because it's going to be kind of a one and done, whereas the Primaris stuff will keep getting newer things and more updated? It's hard to guess, right? Like, because the thing is, as long as there's rules for the Firstborn stuff, you can always hijack Horus Heresy models to make new Firstborn Marines.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a soft spot.
Oh, that's interesting though, because like
the Horus Heresy thing.
Mm-hmm. But think about that. Think about like maybe the new Space Marine Codex comes out in the winter or the fall, and there's no Firstborn stuff in it. But the indexes are out there, and the indexes are for free and they're downloadable. So you can always play with them forever.
Yeah, because if you go back to second edition, right, like the way it was with the free army lists, was they were valid until they got replaced. So if they don't get replaced, I assume that's your list. Like you're good to go. So is it? And again, this is just me guessing. Like this isn't even speculation. This is just a wild guess. But is it an overcorrection for the idea that other lists will get, I guess, proper or balanced revisions, whereas we get one shot for this edition at this thing, and this is it?
Are we doing tinfoil hats right now? I feel like we just put our tinfoil hats on.
Yeah, it wasn't my plan.
Put our tinfoil hats on. I'm into it. No, I'm into it. I feel like, a sneaky range reduction. What a good time for that. And even the timing's really good for it too, because if the codexes on the roadmap don't come out, was it, Nick, did you look, is it like fall winter for the first two codexes, I think?
Yeah, I think we're in summer, so we're going to see Space Marines Tyranids here, and then fall.
No, I thought it was fall winter for the Space Marines Tyranids. I thought they didn't do any codexes until after the summer was over.
Maybe
I think the whole thing was indexes.
I think that's the case. You're right. I think those are the first two.
Yeah, because it was like for a year. Because it was like Space Marines and Tyranids fall winter 2023, and then it was like pairs basically every half year, every 6 months, like one every 3 months.
I don't get a book until next winter, so until then,
that's right. Yeah, okay. Well, but think about it. So like that gives you enough time to sell through the Firstborn stuff that you want to sell with these indexes, and then launch a Space Marine Codex that doesn't have any of the Firstborn stuff in it, and be like, well, it worked in Age of Sigmar. We just kept that stuff. Like Tomb Kings were still an army in Age of Sigmar. You can still play Tomb Kings. They're just in the app. Go get your Data Scrolls on the app. Yep. Like you could totally do that with the Firstborn Space Marine stuff.
Because if you're not going to do that, and like again, just looking at it from a product point of view, right? Like typically all the codexes are more or less the exact same format. Mm-hmm. Are you going to make a Space Marine Codex that's like 2 to 2.5 times the size?
Have to do it. They have to reduce the range of Space Marine Codex. There's
like that's what I mean, right? Like so, I don't see another set of Firstborn rules coming out. Again, this is just a complete guess. I could be totally wrong.
Simple as. Let's just do it. I'm into it. Let's go. Let's prognosticate. I'm putting money down. $20. $20 says there's no Firstborn.
But if I'm the one responsible for producing and selling the new Space Marine Codex, it's not going to have an extra 60 pages of content dedicated to a range of models that I've almost completely stopped selling.
Yeah, and I'm not producing any more stocking, and I want to sell through. Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that actually, but this is the perfect win. The indexes and the fact that they'll just be digital living documents, they never have to change them, is the perfect way to actually reduce the size of that range. And they've already cut the dread. Like, what was the stuff that they cut already, Nick? They cut the dread. They cut. There's something else they cut too. Stern guard, maybe, like the metal stern guard. They cut all the firstborn stern guard because they replaced them with the Primaris ones. The Vanguard vets, maybe.
I'm trying to remember because I have a really new collection, so I was like, "Hey, this can't affect me," so I didn't look that hard.
Yeah. But there was a bunch. I mean, the Dreadnought was a big one. Like getting rid of the classic Space Marine Dreadnought in plastic was a big deal because they kept around the Vendread.
Now
right?
my Dreadnought is venerable just because he's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that would make sense. That would make so much sense. Well, that's a good thing to wrap this up on. Tinfoil hats. All right, I'm putting $20 on. They reduced the range in the Codex. I'm with Jay.
I think so.
I'm with Jay. I'm put $20 down. You guys can bet against
expedition. Too soon.
Yeah. you bet against
give them their last 40.
Think it's too soon?
Let them
it's
burn
the
out.
10th edition, Nick. We're 40 years of Warhammer.
I just want to point out, if you think it's too soon, what was it? Second or third edition was the last time we saw squats until Leagues of Votan came out for 9th.
It's true. And we didn't even see the second edition squats never got released even.
No, it was just a list for people who had those models from before.
And the Codex Imperialis had 6 sculpts of like what were going to be the new miniatures that never got actually put out. And they're incredible. If you can get your hands on those miniatures, they're incredible. They're like Jess Goodwin squats. They're so cool. Yeah, look in the Codex Imperialis. There's squad miniatures that never saw the light of day that I wish I had. So yeah, I think I'm with you, Jay. I think that's a great place to leave this on, because I think that is the thing people aren't necessarily talking about with the indexes yet. And it's like, so what could happen now that we've got like living rules for 40K, which we never had before? We have Rage of Sigmar. What could they do with that? And that's reducing the range of the 40K line. Man, there's a bunch of stuff that could go. What orc things could go, Nick? I'm trying to think of like older orc miniatures.
Well, the Tank Busters could really go.
Yeah, Burner Boys could go.
No, the Burner Boys Ludus kit's fairly new, actually.
They're not. They're 4th edition. The Ludus and Burner Boys came out with the 4th edition orcs, man. They're old.
Don't you say this.
They're old. They're 4th edition.
We don't have. They're mostly
the Trucks 4th edition. Think about how long ago it is. That's 18 years ago. That's like 15 years ago. Those are old kits now.
All right, well, give me my flavors back.
Yeah. Give me new Burner Boys.
Orc has bad ballistic skill. You can't take our flavors.
You can't take our Burner Boys away. They'll just give you new models. I'm not saying it's gone like the unit's gone. I'm saying like this would be the time that they would start to like sort through that stuff.
Well, they did.
That black shirt doesn't look very new and current.
And then
yeah. Oh man, Jay pulling out the burnable Ludus.
He's right.
I love that you had that. That's amazing.
Wow.
That logo is old as shit.
No fair.
That's 2 logos ago, man. Some old orcs. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other things in the range. I'm sure there's some Eldar stuff, like the Falcon Grav tank could probably get redone.
Here's another one, and I don't want to piss everybody off, but most of the Imperial Agents list, that stuff even in 40K packaging, or is it just old school Kill Team packaging?
Yeah. Oh, it's got a boarding action box that sold out immediately. That's about it. It'd be cool to see that stuff come out too.
It would.
Proper kit. Yeah.
But it would also be an easy thing to say, well, maybe not.
Well, we know that Space Cops are a real army. And Jay, Space Cops are officially a real army now.
I know.
Just remember Space Cops.
When Space Cops two consecutive editions.
Oh, yeah, Space Cops is a real army. Right. Since second edition.
Should I paint up a unit and take them as an ally for our big game? Because I can play them.
Definitely use your Space Cops. Yes, you should definitely have Space Cops. Jay would love if you had Space Cops. He would love
when anybody has Space Cops.
That's right. Jay will just paint up a unit of Space Cops as like cultists. But then there's like neophytes with like weird arms.
I'll just give them Bloodman heads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and be like, these are the cultists in the precinct. We don't talk about it. They were a little too close to the docks, and they got a little fishy.
Then the guys from the Shield.
The guys from the Shield. That's right. They're Michael Chicklets. They're Michael Chicklets armies.
The Vic Mackey army.
Oh my God. Well, and on that complete loose horse shit, let us end this a tale of 40-ish gamers. And we'll see you next week. See what gets done. Hopefully we'll be able to get the full group back. And we'll keep on painting and you get to hear about our games and what's coming up. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.